Welcome back to the show.
Welcome back to the show.
And now, your hosts of the Card Subject to Change podcast, the For Frequency's Sake Tag Team Champions of the World, the Wizard CZ, and never wrong, Nick Bull.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another exciting edition of the Card Subject to Change podcast, the podcast by the fan for the fan. Of course, we are powered by Low Pies Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo, and protected by Jared Zook of Country Financial. We're so glad you're here. So glad you're joining us, of course, to talk wrestling of all things. But before we get into things, I'm your host, Never Wrong, Nick Bull. Joining me, I'd be remiss if I did not mention him. He is the co-tag team champion of the For Frequency's Sake Network. He is the one. He is the only. He is the Wizard CZ. Wiz, how you doing, bud?
Man, I feel great. I feel like if I can make an obscure reference, I feel like Stagger Lee Marshall.
They're great.
Yeah, I hope you catch that reference. I knew you would.
Tony the Tiger reference. If you've been following on social media, CZ is hitting the gym. So, if you see stuff on social media, support him along the way. He's doing a great job. He's got a routine down, and he's sticking to it, and we're proud of him for that. And 2025 is not only going to be a great year for this podcast, it's going to be a great year for the Wizard CZ. But it's not 2025 yet, darn it. We got a few days away. This year went by quick. I don't know where the year went. It seems we were just sitting here talking about the Royal Rumble and talking about we had our 100th episode watch party at the beginning of this year. That seemed just like yesterday, man, but that's almost a year ago. And we're coming up on 2025, but we still had one big event left in 2024, and that so happened to be All Elite Wrestling World's End pay-per-view. Now I'm going to go full disclosure here with this episode, CZ, and I think it's only fair to the fan. I did not watch this show. No, I'm not protesting AEW. No, I'm not protesting the card because the card looked excellent. The show, from everything I've read reviews, was excellent. Can't wait to hear about that, CZ. But my son was playing in a championship basketball game last night for a holiday tournament, and the game didn't start till 8:30. So I was getting, of course, results from my tag team partner here. He was sending me spoilers. I said, go ahead and spoil away because I don't think I can get it watched tonight. And I couldn't get it watched this morning either. Tell you that story in a second. But was at a basketball game last night. I kind of know. I know what happened at the show. Got some opinions on things, but I did not see this show. So I want everybody out there to know that I did not see it. And I didn't want to blow smoke. I just wanted to be honest with everybody. Did not see the show, but I do want to comment on it. I'm excited for it. Didn't have a chance to watch it because I was made an appearance on the up-and-coming MLW Confusion podcast with our buddy Rob Kammerer. Wanted to plug his show here. I think that show will drop later this week. But was on the horn with him this afternoon, as they say, for a couple hours. So there is no way I was going to get World's End watched. But I'm so glad that the Wizard CZ watched it. I'm so glad he spoiled me and gave me spoilers last night. And I'm ready to talk some wrestling, CZ.
And I'll be honest, Nick, your opinions are what matter the most when we do these react shows, because we're not doing a blow-by-blow replay of the show. We're giving our opinions and our reactions.
Sure.
Before we get into World's End, I just want to ask, was the hot tub full of pizza rolls all it was cracked up to be? All you hoped for and more?
It was. I was worried I was going to get burned because hot, pizza rolls do get hot. They're really hot when they come out. So no burns. Man, I'll give you a little tease. If you like bad wrestling, it's the podcast for you. We talk a lot about bad wrestling shows we loved. So if you kind of liked our ugly sweater party, there's some vague references there to that. But man, we talked about a lot of things. Rob's got a great mind for wrestling and a different perspective. And that's we kind of was just of our conversation. Like wrestling's this broad paint stroke, but when I go to a wrestling show, when you go to a wrestling show, when Rob Kammerer goes to a wrestling show, we're all looking for something different, but we're all there for wrestling. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. So a fun conversation with Rob. We'll share on our social media pages when the episode drops this week.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to hearing it. I've been on his podcast. I've been on MLW Confusion in the last month or so. So if you want to check that out, he's on Spotify, and look for Nick's episode coming up. Generally, Rob releases them on Friday to the general public.
I think he said Friday. Rob does a lot more editing with his show than we do, and that's, hey, more power to him. I mean, we weren't live with Rob, so he was able to do some editing. But we've kind of just liked the whole live mic thing here at the Card Subject to Change podcast.
What's editing?
We just go with it.
No, I think Rob is great. He does a lot of editing with his show, which is fine. I don't but for us, we just kind of go off the cuff, and
it works for us. This works for us.
Well, Nick, let's get this ball rolling.
Absolutely.
We are on episode 164 of the Card Subject to Change podcast, classically Continental. If you're wondering about that name and you are living under a rock and don't know anything about AEW, that is because the Continental Classic tournament had the semifinals and final match on this show. So we focused on that. We focused on just the Continental Classic in general on our last episode of the Kickouts. So check that out in the archives. But no, we have 4 finalists going into the semifinals. That's what the semifinals are all about. It comes down to the final 4. We have Will Ospreay, Kyle Fletcher, Kazuchika Okada, and everyone's favorite guy who puts his foot in his mouth way too much, and that's Mr. Ricochet. Which, as we all know, there wouldn't be an AEW without Ricochet.
He's kind of been in the news recently. I mean, he hasn't done anything bad, but the fans really don't care for Ricochet right now, and they've made that known.
So, on that subject, I have to wonder how much of this current iteration of Ricochet, how much of this is coming from his bosses, and how much is it just him blatantly sticking his foot in his mouth? Did he have... I mean, everybody has more of a leash when you're in the WWE. There's someone there to not make you look like an idiot. Is he just off the leash, or is this just to portray heat to his character?
I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I think this is going into his character. I think when he said that thing that AEW wouldn't be here without Ricochet, when that happened, I'm like, oh my God, that might be the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But now I'm looking back on it, and I'm thinking he said it on purpose, because Ricochet debuts, comes over from WWE, right? And everybody's excited. I think any wrestling fan that's a fan of Ricochet, if you're a fan of wrestling, you're excited to see Ricochet again. You're excited to see the guy is an unbelievable athlete in the ring. Unbelievable what he can do. And I think automatically when he comes over, everybody's like, oh, Ospreay Ricochet. We're finally gonna get what we've been wanting all these years. If you look at it like that, what happens after you do Ospreay and Ricochet? Then what? So I think him spouting out the mouth, I think him getting booed, I think him getting TP'd with toilet paper even before this show, I think it's the first step in his next character development. Embrace this hate, become a heel, become an unbelievable heel. So when Ospreay Ricochet does happen, when it matters for a title or something down the road, will have a story to tell instead of just two guys getting in the ring and doing their thing. I think maybe I think as this thing progresses, we're going to see him just get more hated and more hated and more hated. Guess what? That's still good. That's a reaction. He's getting a reaction. And I think this is a big moment in time in his career, because in years past, when you said Ricochet on a WWE show, okay, he's going to do a spot or two.
Or two? How about or 12?
Okay, you know what I'm getting at. But he needs to get away from that typecast. Okay?
Yes.
And getting away from that typecast, he needs to embrace this hate. He needs to get better at promos. And I think he's going to do both. And I think this is really going to elevate him character-wise in development and make him better for it in the end.
I certainly hope so. And I am anxious to see where we go with him from here. Now, obviously, we did not see Ricochet and Will Ospreay on the pay-per-view. We'll get to that in a moment. The opening match was the second time that Will Ospreay has faced off against Kyle Fletcher in as many months. And there was kind of some foreshadowing going into this, Nick. I know you didn't watch, but I'll kind of talk you through commentary during the match and commentary on the 0 hour. Talked about how difficult of a hill it is to climb to beat the same opponent twice. And as we all know, Kyle Fletcher came away with the victory at Full Gear. And for all intents and purposes, he damn well looked like he was going to come away with the victory here. Ricochet was an absolute bloody mess by the end of this match.
You mean Will Ospreay?
Ospreay, yes. I'm sorry.
I knew what you meant. I get
Ricochet on the brain now.
Yeah, the proto star, is that right? Kyle Fletcher?
Yes.
Has had himself a pretty good second half, especially of 2024, as
yes.
he did the best with a bad situation. His tag team partner from Aussie Open, Mark Davis, had to have surgery, so he's out of the picture. So they give him Callis to work with as a mouthpiece, guide him, be part of the Callis family, the faction there in one of the many factions in AEW. That's neither here nor there. But what I'm saying is they've invested some time. They've invested a lot of TV time to this guy, and he's definitely a future star for them. So, yeah, he got his, I should have seen the writing on the wall, but I didn't. He got his mentor last month. Not time yet, little guy. Not time yet, young man. Will Ospreay definitely gets him back in this match. And I've seen clips from the match, and AEW did this right. You start the show with both the semifinals and have your final, before the main event of the show. That's and I think that's pretty much how they did it. And a good job to them. Hey, they did something that I thought they should do. Good job. And Fletcher in the vein is a younger Will Ospreay. They grew up together, they came up together, but he's always going to be looked at as the understudy of Will Ospreay. It's not his time yet. I thought maybe it would be his time. I thought maybe, okay, let's throw a curveball at the world instead of people just thinking Ospreay's just going to whisk to the finals. Let's have Fletcher win this. But I think they made the right decision. It's not quite time for Kyle Fletcher yet. And with Will Ospreay coming out bleeding, face covered, it makes for an interesting story to tell throughout the night as you pump that second semifinal match, as you pump that championship match. He's got to appear, and guess what, fans? You're going to get a match you want. You're either going to get Ospreay Ricochet or you're going to get Ospreay Okada. So
which is another
Ospreay winning was the best. Yes. Yes.
And this, I know that Uncle Dave, we haven't seen star ratings yet, and you can hear my opinion on star ratings if you read my article this Thursday. I'm just going to give you a preview of that. But Uncle Dave called this the greatest opening match in pay-per-view history. And as our good friend Timothy Regal reminded me this afternoon, Uncle Dave is just one man who has his own opinions. And we don't have to agree with him. I think I can name a couple of other opening matches that I think were better than this, but I don't think he was too far off the mark. This was a really great opening match. A lot of drama, a lot of good maneuvers, a lot of good back and forth here. But yes, Ospreay coming away, and we get that preview of two matches where everyone's really looking forward to, whether it's Ricochet, whether it's Okada, whoever comes away winning that match, which we'll get to next. Excuse me. They're two matches that people are looking forward to. I think they make the right call going into the next match as to who the finalists should be. I think, like we were talking about just a few minutes ago, Ricochet is still needing to cook a little bit, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And this loss is going to help him in his character development for this new character we're seeing, this Ricochet, who is pissed. He had have I not done enough for you to the wrestling fans, and the wrestling fans draping him and throwing toilet paper now in the ring when he enters instead of the time-honored tradition of streamers. It's toilet paper. I think it's kind of funny myself. I'm not gonna lie. It's
Swerve coming out and Nana with a wagon full of toilet paper that they handed out to the ringside crowd at the end of the match.
This was after the Okada Ricochet match.
Yes,
which was the second semifinal, which was the second match on World's End. It followed the opener. And you know what? I've seen the clips gone viral where Okada does a series of running the ropes, stopping, and then like just essentially bitch slapping Ricochet, the back of Ricochet's head. Yep. I've heard the crowd. I've seen the viral videos of the crowd going, is it na 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 na? Hey, you're bald, and just the crowd seemed to be enjoying themselves here, and we're only the second match in. They were treated to a good one in the first one. I don't think the second match was nearly as good as the first. It was a hard act to follow, but it wasn't horrible. The parts that I've seen of it and the ending, only makes sense when you think about this. I don't have the card in front of me for the Wrestle. What's the show coming up next week?
Wrestle Dynasty.
Wrestle Dynasty?
Yes.
Is that what you said? Wrestle Dynasty. Okay, because Wrestle Kingdom is New Japan show. I don't know. Is Okada on the Wrestle Dynasty show?
I would have to look that up. I'm not sure either.
I mean, it's a great time to promote this pay-per-view. Of course, Okada Ospreay has happened before, but we haven't gotten it yet in AEW. And, whether you're a fan of either guy or not, Ospreay or Okada, it's enough interest from the outsider looking in. You've heard both those names. They have wrestled in Japan, but they've never faced off one-on-one here in AEW. So that final does bring intrigue. Of course, it's the Continental Classic, which is your crowning achievement to this big tournament you've had. AEW's version of the G1 Climax that New Japan Pro Wrestling does. It's a thing that AEW's kind of adopted, and it's really a really good tournament that they put on. And so your final is Okada and Ospreay. I mean, that's a final that any tournament bracket maker would want to have.
100%. 100%. That's going to be a show stealer. Anywhere you put it, anywhere you book it, in my opinion.
Yep. That's fully how I feel now.
I'm just
looking
glancing at the Wrestle Dynasty card, and I do not see Kazuchika Okada listed on there.
Oh, interesting. I wonder if he makes an appearance at all on that show. Regardless, that's neither here nor there. But CZ, tell me, how many times in your wrestling fandom have you ever seen a Tijuana street fight?
Oh my God. This would be the first.
And how does that differ from a Walcott street fight?
I don't think there's a difference. Oh,
that's a reference for our SCW pro fans. The Walcott Coliseum, the previously a home for SCW shows. They had a Walcott street fight in one of their last shows, but that's a reference for the SCW pro fans out there, and I knew CZ would get a chuckle out of it. So yeah, tell me about this match. I'm all ears here. And I wanted to give you the microphone and the spotlight since you're such an expert on the Tijuana street fight.
Yeah, it's my my bread and butter. I love it. Honestly, I thought that going into this, and the commentators did as well, they played it up. Thunder Rosa seems to have the advantage here, in my opinion. This isn't really Mariah May's style of match. And Thunder Rosa had her father at ringside. I believe it was her father. I'll be honest, I only half paid attention to what the commentary team said and who that guy was. I haven't watched a full episode of Dynamite or Collision in a while, just because of my tiredness during the day. But that's going to improve, and neither here nor there. But I thought this was fun. There wasn't really blood in this match, which didn't need it, because Will Ospreay bled enough for everybody in the rest of the night, with the exception of maybe Don Moxley.
It's Don Moxley. Yes, I know I said Don.
I know too. But no, this was interesting. There was a spot that I thought was really fun where they had set up a table, like half set it up, like only one side of the legs were up, so it was a ramp, and Thunder Rosa used it as a launching pad onto Mariah May. That was really fun. But no, I was surprised by the outcome. I thought they talked about how Thunder Rosa never lost the title. She had to relinquish it due to injury. They talked about how this match favored her. I honestly thought she was going to walk away with the championship, but she did not. Mariah May retained.
I think this is a unique situation here. You talk about this really isn't Mariah May's type of match, and for her to go into this match and get a win is solidifying, giving some legitimacy to her title run. Who knocks off Mariah May? I don't know. Maybe it happens over in Japan. I don't know.
Maybe the newest rookie in the AEW roster, Tony Storm, will come in and take it away.
And that could happen too. But yeah, Mariah May, from what I've read here and seen about this match, really took to fight to her when it counted. I seen the spot of the pile driver through the table. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that looked vicious, and it looked good because it wasn't perfect. If you know what I mean. Like, I'm not knocking the spot. There was some ruggedness to the spot.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I know exactly what you're saying.
And it really, I think, showed the physicality and the lengths these women were going to go to win this match. So, props to Mariah May for winning this match, and props to that. That was a really cool spot to go back and watch on my timeline when I was trying to catch up with the show.
Yeah, and overall, this was a decent match. I thought this outshined the other women's match, which we'll get to later. Okay, I'm not going to pull punches. Neither one of us care for Mercedes Moné. But I think the placement of this match, I wish they would have been a little higher up on the card. I think the world title for the women, for anyone, the world title needs to have a higher spot on the card than the secondary title, whether it's the men, the women, whatever. So that's my biggest qualm with this match is how early it happened compared to the other women's match on the card.
Yeah, I see your point, and I can't argue that. I would agree with that. I would agree with that.
But yeah, I mean, the match itself was fine. It was a good exhibition between two fantastic women's wrestlers, and like you said, this helped solidify Mariah May's title reign.
I think so. That's the way. That's my takeaway from this. That's how I feel with this.
Now, next we kind of switch gears and we go to this is a very stale rivalry, in my opinion. I don't think they've done anything to really freshen it up. But this stems from last summer, not this year, 2023. When MJF and Adam Cole were doing double clotheslines and kangaroo kicks and all sorts of ridiculous garbage in their tag team. And the fans were really behind MJF as a face, but that's not who he is. And then the story kind of died when Adam Cole got injured and disappeared for a while. And they're trying to pump life into it. It's like squeezing blood out of a turnip, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think so. This was such a good thing, and then injury happened. And listen, this isn't the first time an injury has scrapped an angle or ruined an angle. Injuries happen, okay? Absolutely. This thing was so much hotter last year.
Yes.
Okay. They were tag team partners. They headlined All In Wembley. They had all that going. They were doing the thing with the devil, the mask, and appearing. And who was that group? And man, it was so good. And then Adam Cole got hurt. And the fans let it go. And I think the natural thing once Cole come back is to, feud with the guy who he had the heat with before, or who he was before his injury happened. That was MJF.
Right.
Unfortunately, it doesn't have the sizzle like it did before. And
the shine's kind of off.
Everything I see about this match, nothing really was extravagant about the match. It's not that either guy came out and gave a bad performance or anything, but everybody's talking about CZ, what happened after this match, and tell me about how the ending of this match went down in the aftermath.
So the ring came into play. You had the Kingdom, Matt Taven and Mike Bennett out there at ringside to protect the Dynamite Diamond ring so that MJF wouldn't use it. They end up getting kicked out of ringside. The ring comes into play, but ultimately costs Adam Cole the match. But then after the match, MJF walks away with the Dynamite Diamond ring and is now going to reign with that for 6 years. But at the end of the match, it was kind of a reunion of sorts, because not only did Roderick Strong come back after his match with MJF last month, and I believe there was an injury angle there, but Kyle O'Reilly came out and helped chase off MJF. So this was kind of an Undisputed Era reunion, so to speak, here, which I think is cool. The only person missing was Bobby Fish.
And I don't know if that'll happen. He has said some things about Tony Khan in the past, but never say never in wrestling. But yeah, when you sent me the spoiler, MJF retained the ring, and that Roderick Strong and Kyle O'Reilly came down. They all kind of joined in and beat up MJF afterwards. I asked, well, are they all back together now? I mean, what does that mean now for the Kingdom? Are they just a tag team away from this stable now and off doing their own thing? I don't know. A lot of questions I know a lot of people loved the Undisputed Era, the NXT run. I did. I enjoyed a lot of those matches. Do they bring back Bobby Fish? Do they add a member to their fold? This remains to be seen, but something to keep an eye on here. Excuse me, as we talk AEW in 2025.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens out of this and where we go from here. But Nick, where we're going to go from here is we're going to take a quick pause to pay some dues to our fellow brethren on the podcast network. And then afterwards, episode 42 of A Moment of Focus. So stay with us here. Moment of Focus on the other side of the break, but we'll be right back after this.
For Frequency's Sake has you covered on all things sports. From the squared circle to the hardwood and the gridiron to the speedway, we've got something for everyone. Walk down the aisle with the boys from Card Subject to Change every Sunday as they take a deep dive into everything pro wrestling. Head on over to the hardwood with Doug Green and Watching the W each week for all the news from the WNBA. Want more insight from Pit Row? Check out the Green, White, and Checkered podcast where they give their insight on everything happening on and off the track. Need your gambling fix? We've got you there. Dan Hancock and Gotham Gambling will help you cover the spread with the Golden Ticket Show. Football more your style? Explore the waters of NFL DFS with DFS Deep Dive with Brian Craighead and Jordan Kernan each week. More into the science portion of the game? The Professor John Bush and Dennis Michelson take you into their science lab and dissect your week in the data lab. Need to know who to start last minute? The network's flagship show, For Fantasy's Sake, is here in a pinch. The fellas come to you live every football Sunday from 10 to 11:30 Central with the week's best DFS, gambling, and lineup advice. And wrap up your Sundays with Joe Winkle and Nick Brinks as they come to you live with educated ignorance, looking at all the day's action. Not enough football on Sunday? Not a problem. Kick your feet up at lunch on Monday and slip into the football lounge with Mark and Dan while they look at the week that was in news, notes, and more. For Frequency's Sake, you know what we mean.
Welcome back to the show.
Oh, welcome back to the show. This will be our last show here. Card Subject to Change of the 2024 year.
Yes, it is.
I guess the next time you will be joining us, let's go ahead and plug it, be the Kickout coming up on New Year's Day, if I'm not mistaken. I'm never wrong, Nick Bull. He is the Wizard CZ. We together are the Card Subject to Change podcast, the fan for the fan. Powered by Low Pie Pizza, built by General Remodeling, colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo, and protected by Jared Zook of Country Financial. We want to thank those sponsors, those partners so much for 2024. Looking forward to 2025 and what it brings for all of us. And we are happy to say that you are with us here on the For Frequency's Sake Network and glad that you are a part of our show.
I don't know if DJ is watching, but we talk about the For Frequency's Sake Network and the flagship show For Fantasy's Sake. Joe Winkle has been missing in action for the last few weeks, and I just need to know if we need to put his face on a milk carton.
I saw Joe about a week and a half ago, almost 2 weeks ago. Ran into him at a basketball game. Joe's a busy man. Joe had a lot on his mind before Christmas. Joe popped the question to his girlfriend, now fiance.
Yes, congratulations, Joe.
He I don't think the milk carton treatment's merited, but maybe next time. But he had a lot on his mind, this holiday season.
That's very true. That's very true. I just wanted to bring that up because I don't watch all of For Fantasy's Sake just because I'm not that into fantasy football, but I've noticed his absence and just wanted to throw that out. Nick, you were going to say something though before I
was going to say something, but I'm glad you said this because now it makes my segue even better, and you're going to see in a second. You want to talk about milk cartons. You want to talk about guys who've been missing. Our friend Stryker, before the commercial break there, as I try to pop up his message, it's not popping up.
Well, maybe I can help with that.
Someone you can put on a milk carton is Wardlow. Wardlow and MJF have a past. They also have a falling out in wrestling. Just like bad relationships, people patch things up and get back together all the time. So this is a guy, if you want to put on a milk carton, not Joe Winkle, but Wardlow, he can go on the milk carton.
Yes, I can agree with that.
Striker, when you see Wardlow, let me know, because I've been looking all over for him. I know he's been recovering from an injury, but man, wasted talent, and MJF's back. What I would love to see is MJF getting ganged up on by, let's just say, the Undisputed Era. They start getting the better of MJF.
Yep.
And then Wardlow returns to help MJF.
Ooh.
And he plays the whole angle, you need me more than I need you type deal. And boom. He's back on the main roster. He's back on TV. He's back involved with MJF in some capacity. That's how I would do it. I hope we see Wardlow involved with MJF in 2025.
I agree. I think that'd be a fantastic way to bring him back and, give him that shine that he did have when him and MJF had their breakup. That was almost 2 years ago now, wasn't it? A year and a half ago?
Was it at Revolution?
Yes, that sounds right.
Revolution, maybe 2022.
And then Wardlow since then has just been kind of swept under the rug.
Was it before we started doing this show?
No, it was during the show.
So it had to be Revolution
2023.
2023. There you go. Yep. Okay. All right. Let's get this ship back. Let's get this thing steered. We're getting back on the road here. Where are we at in the card, CZ? We are talking the World's End. Before
we get to get back into the card, we do have to take our moment to focus.
Absolutely. I completely lost my focus. I need this moment of focus.
Yes. So let's send things over to our good friend and collaborator, one JT Energy, and see what we're focusing on today.
Welcome to a moment of focus with the feline phenom, JT Energy. And this week, the boys at the Card Subject to Change podcast, they're reviewing AEW World's End. And what are we focusing on? You know what? Let's focus on something that we were reminded of last night via Kenny Omega. And that's to think about your setbacks are nothing more than your comeback. It all just depends on how you look at it. If something happens and it's not so great, that's not your setback. That's the start of your comeback, my friends. And don't forget, maybe, just maybe, after I take someone's eye out this Saturday night, Rip Studwell, I'll see you Saturday night at the Prestige Rumble. But you won't see me. This has been a moment of focus with the feline phenom, JT Energy.
And of course, that Wildcat Claw on a pole match coming up this Saturday at the Walcott Coliseum. So you need to be there for sure. I have it on good authority that the Wildcat Claw on a pole match is not the only thing we're going to see with something being above the ring. I have it on good authority that Mr. Energy is building towards a Jared Thumb on a forklift match that should be arriving at Epic. Now, I'm not going to reveal my sources. And of course, I'm not I'm not never wrong, so that might not actually happen. But the rumors I've heard, we're going to see Jared Thumb on a forklift before the end of 2025.
Yeah, I'm all for it. I want to see it. I want to see how we get there too.
Oh no, but I need to send a personal thank you to JT Energy looking out for me as I make my comeback to drop this tremendous amount of weight that I have, and everybody who's shown their support, not just JT Energy, but he did reach out to me personally a couple times to check on me, which I felt very, very grateful for. And everybody who's following me along, thank you so much for your support as well. But yeah, let's get back on track. And Nick, the next match on the card is one of your favorites in AEW. Defending his international championship against Powerhouse Hobbs.
Let me apologize. I just glared at you like, if you're tossing to me for the Monet match that way, I'm going to be pissed. But you were tossing to the IC match, so go right ahead. Go right ahead. I wanted to forgive you because I was mad at you in my head.
You thought I was going somewhere completely.
I thought you were going somewhere else.
No. We're not talking about the CE no yet. We're talking about Konosuke Takeshita, and his match against Powerhouse Hobbs. Powerhouse, of course, being a former member of the Callis family, and Takeshita, with that international championship, is a current member of the Callis family. This match was a lot of fun, and I'm going to let you gush over Takeshita because I'm going to do it too. He's a brilliant athlete and a bright, shining star whose future is just endless. There are endless possibilities, and I can see him being a world champion within the next year or two.
Yeah, I think he is. I think he's in store here for a big 2025. Maybe doesn't get to the world championship until 2026, but he is so young. He's the total package.
No, that's Lex Luger.
That's Lex Luger, I know, but he can work with smaller guys. He's a big guy. Konosuke Takeshita is. I think it's ultimately comes down to him versus Kenny Omega, and God, we would love to see that. I mean, I would love to see that somewhere down the road here for something major. He's my favorite guy probably to watch in AEW. Everybody knows I'm a top guy for the FTR guys. I love those guys, and we'll talk about them, I'm sure, a little bit later. But they're my favorite tag team. But Konosuke Takeshita is my favorite guy to watch. I'm just gonna say I would love to see a dream match with him and Gunther. I mean,
can you imagine?
That'd be a lot of fun, and I don't care the promotion where it's at. That would be a lot of fun, and winners would be the fans. But I digress. I was looking forward to this because I know Hobbs has come back from an injury. This is a guy I think that AEW are putting their stock into a younger talent that's big that they need to get over. Because you can never have enough of what I call homegrown talent. You can never have enough of it. So I think big things are in the future for Powerhouse Hobbs, but I just think Takeshita here is the better of the two, and I don't know what was the physicality like in this match since I didn't see it.
Well, I will preface it this way. I will talk about it this way. The fans, whenever there was a chop battle, were chanting meat, meat, meat. This was a hard-hitting match. This was well put together. These two are heavy hitters, and it shows. And I think both of them could hold a world title in their future. I think Takeshita is maybe a little further along than Hobbs is, but only because of how Hobbs has been booked. I think if booked right, you can.
And Hobbs has been on the shelf too.
Yes, I think down the road you can see these two running it back for the world title at some point.
I don't think it's too far out of the realm of possibility, not at all. How the match stack up to the rest of the card? Where does this match go on match? On the quality of matches for the night.
Overall, I thought the show as a whole, there wasn't really a bad match on the card. There may be performers that we don't care for. We'll talk about that in a minute, but the show had really decent matches. It wasn't the best. This wasn't the best effort they've done all year, but it definitely was a far cry from the worst. This match is right up there. It was really entertaining. It was a lot of fun to see these two heavyweights clobber each other.
Good. I'm definitely probably going to catch a replay of this at some point. Just with the time constraint I talked about earlier, there was no way to see it. But I mean, this is one of the matches I was looking forward to on the card was this match here. So I'm glad to hear that it was solid. And I'm glad it sounds like everybody's talking about how there wasn't a bad match on this show. And it seemed like one of AEW's better produced and better quality pay-per-views.
Yes. I'll just throw it out there now. I know we wait till the end of our reaction show, but I was talking with our good friend Timothy Regal at Lopez today. Thank you, Lopez, for sponsoring the show.
Absolutely.
He agreed with me. We both kind of give this pay-per-view as a whole a solid B. I'm leaning more towards B minus, but solid effort in that B range for AEW as a whole.
Not bad. If you're doing that consistently, that's a good thing. 2025 is going to be crazy when you think about it. Now that AEW's got this deal with Max, Raw, Netflix, SmackDown going 3 hours. I mean, it is going to be crazy. And this is exciting. It really is. Just looking ahead here to January, I'm just thinking in my head as a wrestling fan, we've got the first Raw on Netflix, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've got Royal Rumble at the end of that month, beginning of February. In between, we get a Saturday night's main event.
We've got the biggest simulcast ever when Dynamite debuts on Max this coming Wednesday. Is it coming Wednesday? Is it January 1st? Yes.
It is. Okay, New Year's Day. So it's a big New Year. It kicks off with AEW in 2025. They don't have a January pay-per-view, I don't think, do they? They have it in the past.
No.
They just go to Revolution, which is in mid to late February.
They are actually doing an event, and I'm going to look up the date.
No, they're going to Japan. Duh.
Well, oh, yes. Okay.
Duh, that big mega show. I mean, it's not a full AEW pay-per-view. There's a bunch of different promotions on it. But, I mean, that counts as a pay-per-view. We're just – there's so much wrestling, we're forgetting it, and that's a good thing.
You mentioned –
that's why there's two of us.
You mentioned Revolution. That's coming up, of course, in March. But before that, they do have an offering in February. They're going – to Australia for Grand Slam on, I believe, that is going to be the 15th of February.
Is that a pay-per-view?
I don't know if it's a pay-per-view or how they're prefacing it. I'm not 100%, but that they're calling it Grand Slam. They're doing it in Australia from everything that I've read. If I'm wrong, those of you viewing, please let me know.
Interesting. All right. We're getting back here on the card. Where did we leave off, CZ? I think we finished up with the Takeshita match.
Yeah, and now we go on to your second favorite wrestler who's on this card.
CE. No.
Do the dance.
No. Yeah. I'll tell you what. I look at this, and this surprises me that this match was the longest on the card.
Yes, I completely agree.
I'm not going to sit here and disparage Monet anymore than I already have. I'm not a fan of her. I know she's a good wrestler. I know a lot of people like her. I'm just not a fan. I never have been. I got nothing against her. Nothing has ever done anything for me. I think what she does is magnified and multiplied. Is she a good wrestler? Sure, she's a good wrestler. And this whole heel turn she's taken, I think, is probably the best thing that she's done in a while. I'm just not a fan. She's taking on Chris Statlander here for the TBS Championship. And I see what you mean, CZ. This and Mariah May maybe should have flip-flopped. But I'm guessing with the money that Monet's making with this contract from Tony, she can probably say where she wants to be on the card, and they're going to go with it. So
I think you're correct. Well, you're never wrong. But yes, I completely agree with that. That's
kind of where I look at it there. But I'm shocked that this was the longest match of the night.
And overall, it wasn't a bad match. They didn't have a stinker on this show. These two put on a good show. I thought there were multiple times where either one of them could have walked away with that TBS title. Honestly, I was rooting for Statlander, not just because of my dislike for Mercedes Moné. Put that aside. Statlander has a lot going for her, and I think this would have been putting her back on that level again of where she was when she defeated Jade Cargill to end her undefeated streak. Because that really boosted her. I think this would have been another shot.
That was another thing. That was another run that was ended by injury, if you recall.
Yeah.
Statlander was hot after beating Jade Cargill, and then she got hurt. So I thought maybe there was an outside chance she would get one of these belts. You know, she'd win the TBS championship here. I know Monet holds the New Japan Pro Wrestling Women's title too. That wasn't up for grabs, I don't think. The AEW TBS champion or the TBS championship. But what's next for Monet and what's next for Chris Statlander, CZ?
That's a great question because part of me.
Well, no, I asked it. Oh man, the punches are flying.
Did you kick back some happy waters before the show?
No. It's been a long day.
You're a little punchy. I think you're a little tired, which I can understand being up till 3 in the morning.
It's been a long weekend, and then we got New Year's here right around the corner too. So yeah,
we do, and we'll have we'll have the kick out to celebrate New Year's too. That'll be awesome.
We will.
Honestly, I can see this feud continuing for one more time. This is another one of those matches that kind of had that foreshadowing, like the Ospreay Fletcher match, where these two have met in the last month. It's hard to overcome the same opponent twice. So I really thought, because they were pitching that this was going to go the way of Ospreay and Fletcher, where Statlander came away with the win just because of the difficulty to overcome that opponent two big events in a row. Right. They prefaced, they built that, they drilled it into our head, but with what she's making at AEW, Mercedes Moné is going to hold that title for a while, and it's going to take someone huge to beat her.
I would agree. It's going to have to be something big. One of those big moments that I don't know who it's going to be, but I'm tuned in and I'm interested to see, and I hope it's sooner rather than later.
I do too. I'll be interested to see where they go from here.
Okay, I want to ask you this. The next match is the Continental Classic final, featuring Will Ospreay, who was busted open pretty good in the first match of the night in the first semifinal against Okada, the winner of the other semifinal. Now, most times, CZ, in a show like this, we, so-and-so, this match got put in the dead spot. I don't think this is a dead spot here.
No.
And if people want to consider that, that's fine. But if you're going to have a match with Will Ospreay and Okada in a dead spot, sign me up.
And this match did not disappoint. In my opinion, Okada and Ospreay had the match of the night. I think this was better than him against Fletcher. Ospreay, that being him being Ospreay. I think this stole the show because not just the great wrestling, the psychology, the story these two told was well put together, and this really could have gone either way. And I mean, Okada was kicking the crap out of Ospreay, who, for all intents and purposes, lost a lot of blood in that first match and only had a couple hours to recover. But he kept on fighting, he kept on striving. But at the end of the day, it was Okada who walked away with the Continental Championship, and I think that was the right call. I think Ospreay is destined for bigger things, and I think that's just around the corner.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. I can't disagree with that. Okada winning here is a good thing. I mean, you can make him appear over in Japan now. Maybe he throws his hat in the ring for the G1. Maybe I don't know. I don't know what the plans are for him. But Ospreay doesn't lose any steam here. Okada winning is probably the right move, and he reclaims the Continental Classic title. We know that Eddie Kingston won the tournament last year, but lost the belt to Okada. So Okada now holds that belt, and if he's holding it for another year at this time, he'll be entered into the tournament. So, a lot of people were saying that was probably the match of the night, and I think that's the match that fans really were almost rabid for, and it sounds like it delivered.
It did, and the fans were really into it. This was the second match of the night that got a "This is awesome" chant, and it was deserved. The commentary team made a point to call Kazuchika Okada the greatest tournament wrestler in the world, in history. That is what they said. Yeah. And this is his 5th tournament victory. He's won the G1 twice, I believe, maybe 3 times, 2 times in a row for sure. I believe that was 2020 and 21 or 21 and 22. I'd have to double check my history on that one, but they talked about that, and they're not wrong. He is definitely a big time player when you have a tournament on the line, and the tournament itself didn't disappoint. This match, to culminate it, was the right move and the best way to end it.
Of course, we're talking about Okada winning the Continental Classic, retaining the Continental Championship belt. All right, I know there's a lot going on here in this main event, CZ. And the main event is your boy, the current reigning champion, Jon Moxley, defending against not 1, not 2, not 3, but 3 other men in a 4-way match. The 3 other participants, Orange Cassidy, Hangman Adam Page, and Jay White. All 3 of these guys have had issue with Moxley and the Death Riders. Death Riders, I'm sorry. I just had Outrunners on my the Outrunners. The Death Riders have had issue with Orange Cassidy, Hangman Page, Jay White along the way. So it's only natural to have a 4-way match. You had to know at some point the Death Riders were going to get involved.
Yes. But if I could rewind for just a second. Before the match took place.
Go ahead.
There was a big surprise coming out to award the Continental Classic Championship to Kazuchika Okada. First appeared was Christopher Daniels. Christopher Daniels says, I am no longer an EVP of AEW, but this man is. And we saw the return of one Kenny, by God, Omega.
That's right. That was after this match. Big moment. I'm guessing the crowd absolutely loved it. And I don't know, is he going to side with the Bucks? Or is he going to, be on AEW? That's the storyline here, I think.
Yes, and I'm anxious to see where it goes. Kenny, of course, will be back in action at Wrestle Dynasty. That'll be good. Is he wrestling on Wrestle Kingdom as well?
I don't know. He's wrestling Gabe Kidd, I think, on Wrestle Dynasty.
Yes, I knew that.
Don't think he's on Wrestle Kingdom. I can look. I'm efforting here. I'll look.
It was definitely good to see him back, and the crowd ate it up. He came out. He had a nice suit on. He went in. He presented the championship to Okada. They shook hands. It was a nice moment, and I'm glad that he's back. He's on that road to recovery after diverticulitis, which I've never had, and I hope I never do. But I know people who have, and it from what I've heard is a bitch.
Yeah, it's nothing to mess around with. That is for sure. And glad that he's back. He looked pretty good. He's in the suit, all dressed up, and appeared to be in good shape. But no, Kenny Omega is not on Wrestle Kingdom.
Okay, just Wrestle Dream.
Just Wrestle
Dynasty. Wrestle Dynasty. Sorry.
Yes.
Wrestle Dream was back in October.
Yes.
There's too many wrestle.
I know, dude. I know. And then when AEW already has a pay-per-view called Dynasty.
I was just going to say that.
Right. I want to hear about this 4-way match and all the shenanigans that ensued.
Oh, this was another shit show. I'm not going to pull punches. So Cassidy's main mission is to make sure that Moxley doesn't walk away with the title. He's trying to encourage his fellow combatants to take Moxley out of the match and have it just be a 3-way, which they do succeed for some time.
Okay.
He is out of the match for a handful of minutes. But you're right. The Death Riders come in and ultimately cost. I believe it was Orange Cassidy who got the pin. If I'm remembering, my short-term memory isn't great. I remember bits and pieces. I remember how good matches are, but I don't necessarily in a multiple-man match remember who got the pin. But I'm 99% sure it was Cassidy.
Okay.
Which makes sense because of Cassidy saying his mission was to oust Moxley. No, I'm wrong. I am wrong. I will admit it. I just remembered I was talking with our good friend Stryker on this. The man who took the pin was Jay White, and I felt really bad about that because Jay White deserves so much more than he's been given in AEW, in my opinion. I think he's a.
I'm glad someone said it out there. Thanks, Deej.
DJ, I will no longer acknowledge you.
I'm just joking. I'm kidding. I knew what you meant. But Jay White takes the pin. It's good to see Jay White back. I hope there's something of significance for him. I really do. Tell me about the involvement now of the Death Riders post-match.
So they were in there and they were just wreaking havoc, but that is not the story to tell after the match. The story to tell is your boys, FTR, coming back to save the day.
Oh, yeah.
And it wasn't just FTR.
What's that?
It wasn't just FTR. It wasn't just Dax and Cash. Because we are now rated FTR as Adam Copeland makes his return as well, siding with siding with his boys FTR. And there is, I believe, a trios match scheduled now for Dynamite between Rated FTR and the Death Riders.
Who had the bigger pop, Omega or Adam Copeland returning?
Ooh, that's a tough call. I don't know. They were pretty equal, but I would my thought is going towards Kenny just because he's the more homegrown talent than
Sure,
Adam Copeland is.
No, I got you. No, two big returns in a night it's such a treat as a wrestling fan, and getting Okada and Will Ospreay, Kyle Fletcher, getting Okada Ricochet. It sounds like overall it was a really good show. That's what I've heard with all. It was a really good show.
There we go.
On here, we're talking about how overall, I listed off the accolades. This seems like a really good show.
It's definitely worth your time. If you have time to sit down, I would focus on the 2 Continental Classic matches, the 3 Continental Classic matches. Sorry, the semifinals and the final, and the main event are the ones that I would gravitate towards, with the Takeshita Will Hobbs match being at the bottom of the list. But I know that was one that you were really looking forward to watching.
Oh, that's cool, man. That's cool. It sounds like it was a good pay-per-view. It seems like a lot of people were happy with what happened, and a lot of stuff happened. So, I mean, definitely props to AEW for ending the year on the right foot, and sending the fans out the year with a good show.
Yes, I agree. This was very solid and very fun show to watch, and seeing those big returns really was awesome, because especially like Kenny Omega, who's been gone for over a year, quite a long time, dealing with the diverticulitis, coming back from that and being able to get back in the ring again here in the near future. That's awesome. And I'm happy for him. I'm excited to see him come back, and hopefully he still has some of that it factor that he had before he was sidelined. I know it's going to take probably a little bit for him to fully come back. Everybody talks about ring rust, but I'm anxious to see him rise back to the top for sure.
Yep. I am too. It's going to be interesting. Well, that puts a ribbon and a bow on Card Subject to Change's coverage of World's End. We are wrapping up the year here in 2024. We would like to once again thank Lopez, Durham Remodeling, Ryan Allison Tattoo, Jared Zook at Country Financial. So thankful for your sponsorship, not only to us, but to the For Frequency Sake Network. Love having you guys on board, and looking forward to 2025 with you. And I'm telling you this, man, a lot of things are coming up. Wrestling is really exciting right now. I thought 2024 may have been the best year in wrestling history when you just look at the sellouts everywhere in the events, and the caliber of events, and the caliber of matches we are now getting on a regular basis. We are so spoiled, we don't even know it. We just need to enjoy it instead of picking it apart. It's fun to pick little things apart, yes, but man, there's a lot of good wrestling out there. Plenty for everyone out there. So find something and get into it, and hop aboard here with us. We're going to take you on a wrestling journey, and getting new faces in here and talking to them. And hopefully they become big names in the future. So then hey, I knew that guy when. But that's kind of the purpose of this show, which you'll hear about on Rob Kammerer's show, MLW Confusion. If you check that out later this week, yours truly will be on there. What's coming up? We have a special New Year's edition of the Kickout. Will be next time you see us. Next time we see you. Hey, I always love this. Next time we'll see you next year, right, CZ?
Right. We'll see you next year. Nick, I just wanted you shouted out the sponsors. I got a shout out for Frequency's Sake for allowing us to have this platform to do our podcast. But most importantly, we would not be the podcast by the fans, for the fans, without you, the fans. So thank you all for being a part of our journey. Thank you all for tuning in week after week to see what we bring to the table. We enjoy having you go over to, if you're not subscribed on our YouTube channel, it is at CSTC Podcast. Give us a subscribe, like, and share. Check out our full archives. But the fans, thank you. And as we wrap up 2024, I also want to thank each and every one of our guests this year. There are far too many to name, but it has been a fantastic year for us here at Card Subject Change with guests and guest commentary and interviews and reviews and everything we've done, Nick.
You said it, man. I can't say anything better. Amazing year. Looking forward to the next.
Yes. That is going to wrap up this edition of Card Subject to Change. Again, we are the podcast by the fan, for the fan, powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo, and protected by Jared Zook of Country Financial. We will see you on Wednesday for the kickout, and then right back here next Sunday for another edition of Card Subject to Change.
This has been a For Frequency Sake Podcast Network production. For more great content, subscribe to For Frequency Sake on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter.